Good evening. Happy Sunday. This is DJ Vinyl Vertigo. Welcome to my channel. I don't usually do a pure jazz video because I think there's plenty of them out there. There's more than enough. However, I just wanted to do just a little short thing, and it'll probably rub some people, ruffle some feathers, I guess, and make people go look, give me side eye, but I don't really care because I love music and you love music, and we all have our opinions. I find that there's certain artists in the jazz, in the vinyl community, I find that certain jazz artists get overlooked or actually get kind of like panned or kind of like put on a lower level because um, they're not really considered, like the work that they put out, especially certain periods of time, became what they consider to be like smooth or cool or commercial or um, just not serious, pure jazz. And, you know, I understand where they're coming from with that, but at the same time, or they went disco or they went soul or they went funk or whatever. There's all kinds of jazz, and we know that there's some standard types of jazz, but there's also some hybrids. There's also people wanting to stay relevant in the industry, and also people who want to um, eat but still do their art. And sometimes, without selling out completely, you sometimes have to take your music or your artistry, especially when it comes to something that is consumerized. You know, the consumers keep you afloat, keep you in. Keep your bank account going. It's really hard to be just a starving artist all the time. So I understand when people start to do, and also to keep your record deal. You know, sometimes it's difficult to just stay pure and stick to your art and or whatever people expect you to do and survive. And also, sometimes creatively, you want to stretch. I mean, perfect example is Coltrane. Perfect example is Miles Davis. They didn't always stick to what people expected them to do. So, I want to talk about artists that are not revered as much as maybe a Coltrane or a Monk or a Miles Davis or a Bill Evans. Um, and nowadays Sun Ra. um, I just want to talk about some artists that kind of people kind of, not everybody, but there are people who kind of give side eye or put a footnote or just kind of smile and go whatever to them as artists. And one of them, or they call them sellouts or whatever. One of them is George Benson, and George Benson got a lot of times got a really bad rap because, especially from especially that one album, and then the stuff that came after, of course, but especially Breezin'. Breezin' just kind of made everybody just said, "Oh, he went MOR. Oh, he sold out. Oh, blah 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 blah." He always sang. I mean, that wasn't the first. This Masquerade was not his first vocal journey. He sang on lots of his albums, maybe one song here, one song there, just like Chet Baker would do. Although Chet Baker sang a little bit more early on in his career. But George Benson was and is one of the greats in terms of jazz guitar, and that can go without much argument. I think. But I think sometimes people don't respect his work as much because he did go commercial at times. But he always came back. He always came back, and every album always had something that somebody who is more of a purist would appreciate. I just have to say, he wouldn't go completely off the rails, in my opinion. He's Some albums are better than others. I give you that. Um, but I'm going to go back to one of the early records in his career, and this is one produced by John Hammond. This was think this is a '60s record, if I'm not mistaken. But it's really good. I used to have it. I only had it on CD for a long time, and I finally found a copy. I didn't even know it was the same album. Um, but this is George Benson. Okay, hello. Oh wait, sorry. Somebody keeps texting me, and it's coming up on my film. George, this is George Benson. George Benson Quartet doing the George Benson Cookbook. This is a hot record. It's really good. It starts out with the cooker. Then he's back, Bossa Rock, and then he sings All of Me. Only one song, All of Me. And he does a good job on it. And it's short. It's only about 2 minutes. You know, you can get through that. I think the original cover was this. This is a reissue, an early reissue. I think this is a solid record, and it's featuring Lonnie Smith on organ on this. It's just fantastic. I just think it's every track shows him at his best. His fingering is just unbelievable on this, and I want to give him some props for doing great work throughout his career. Um, Another artist, a group that gets kind of not panned, but they're kind of put aside as sort of a commercial soul funk jazz group, and these are incredible musicians, and they all have done, not all, but many of them have done solo records that have been considered smooth jazz and things like that. But I'm talking about the band Crusaders. This album is special to me because this is one of the albums that my father used to play all the time. This album is recorded live at the Roxy. This is a live album. It's called Scratch, and it has amazing stuff. It has Scratch. The front side one is Scratch. It only has about 5 songs on it, five cuts. Scratch, and then Eleanor Rigby, the Beatles tune. Scratch is great. The second side, Hard Time, So Far Away, and then they finish up with a rousing Way Back Home, which is the reason to buy this record. It's, to me, the reason to buy this record. This came out, what year did this come out? This came out in the 70s. A lot of times, for history, so 1974, this came out. And it's Larry Carlton on guitar, Max Bennett on bass, Wayne Henderson on trombone, Wilton Felder on tenor, Joe Sample on keys, and Styx Hooper on drums, and they just tear it up. This is a live recording, and it's really one of those great live recordings. Very well recorded, and just so natural and so relaxed, and you feel like you're right there with them. But that last tune, Way Back Home, just takes you somewhere like, unbelievable. So Crusaders, give them props, all the way. Strong band, strong group of musicians in the jazz world and everywhere else. So, another artist who there's no question of the brilliance of this man, and no one argues that, and I'm sure everybody agrees. But when it comes to his albums, he's produced so many people, and he's produced so many, has had so many productions he was involved with. We just lost him about a year ago, I guess. There was a documentary about him, and talking about Quincy Jones. I mean, he produced one of the most famous records in the world, in history, which is Thriller, of course, amongst other things. But he has had his own records early on playing trumpet and arranging, but also later on just arranging and writing and putting together great groups of people to put great music out. And this one really speaks to me because he works with a lot. He's worked with a lot of these people many, many times. And this album, Walking in Space, is a really strong record. I was gonna poll "You've Got It Bad, Girl," but it's so contemporary for that time. It's a little bit more commercial, but it's such a great album. "You've Got It Bad, Girl" is an amazing record. I mean, that's another record to check out. But "Walking in Space" Body Heat's another one, another great one. But Walking in Space is really great. This, I have to say, for this, I mean, it has Dead End, Walking in Space. It has an incredible rendition of Killer Joe. Um, um, Love and Peace, I Never Told You, and he does Oh Happy Day on this, and it's amazing. It's got so many great musicians, including Ray Brown on bass, Eric Gale on guitar, Grady Tate on sticks, Bob James on electric piano, Freddie Hubbard, trumpet of course, trombone is on Jimmy Cleveland, harmonica, Toots Thielman, and I have quite a few Toots Thielman records. I love him. Hubert Laws on flute and tenor, Jerome Richardson on soprano, and then Roland Kirk on tenor sax and reeds. And really great record. This is a gatefold, and let's see. This was recorded on June 18th and 19th, 1969. Rudy RVG. It was the Rudy Van Gelder Studios, and Rudy Van Gelder was the engineer on this. Just amazing, amazing record. Walking in Space. This one I just picked up today, and it kind of was the impetus for me doing this video, other than George Benson. This is another artist that's considered kind of like mostly smooth, a Japanese artist who I think very highly of. He's done all types of, he's brought in all kinds of genres with jazz. He's brought in Latin music, especially Brazilian stuff. But he's done so many great records, and his stuff can sometimes be uh, uh, very accessible, and that's cool, you know, cocktaily or whatever. But he can hit hard too, and this is shown with this live album. This is Sadao Watanabe, and he is an alto sax player, and he self-produces a lot of times, and he self-produced on this one. This is a live album called Parker's Mood, Sato Watanabe, live at Bravas Club in 1985, and that's in Japan, in Tokyo. And this has James Williams on piano, Charnette Moffett on bass, Jeff Watts on drums, and 6 tracks on here. Stella by Starlight. He just pays tribute to Charlie Parker. Everything Happens to Me, Lament. That's the first side. Killer first side. Billy's Bounce. I mean, come on. I Thought About You and Parker's Mood. And this is a phenomenal record. I just think it's really great. Came out in 1986, and yeah, I think it's worth. If you find this, it's worth any amount of money that you want to spend on a really good jazz album. It's just, I think it's really good. It's very, very good. Sadao Watanabe. All right, let's keep going. I'm gonna talk a little less probably because I got quite a few here. This is an artist that I have always been championing, and I love him. And some people say, I'm not into vibes. I'm not into xylophones. I don't like that kind of stuff. It's Muzak to me. It sounds like exotica to me. Blah 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 blah. Don't care. I think he's one of the great Latin jazz artists that's not Latin. And I'm talking about Cal Tjader. Anything by him to me is fantastic, but a lot of people find his stuff to be like very too specific, too samey. I don't care. I just think this guy is brilliant on vibes. He makes vibes exciting for me. Just love him. This is one of the recent Record Store Days releases. Zev Feldman was the producer for this release. This is originally mastered by Bernie Grunman, I believe. And this is a limited edition of 2500. This is 2049 with 2500. This is live at the Penthouse, 63 to 67. And this is Catch the Groove, Cal Tjader. It says here, first official release of previously unissued live Cal Tjader music in nearly 20 years. Mastered by Bernie Grundman, remastered and transferred from the original tape reels. And it has photos and interviews and all that kind of good stuff. It's a trifold. Let's see if I can open this up safely. It's a really nice package. Got a lot of great tracks on here. Um, some of the artists that are on this record are Claire Fisher on piano, Fred Schreiber on bass, Billy Fitch on congas, Johnny Ray on drums, Lonnie Hewitt on piano. Just going around here. Terry Hilliard on bass. Who else? Armando Peraza on congas at some points. Monk Montgomery on acoustic bass on some tracks. Let's see. Al Zuleika on piano on some tracks. But on every track, of course, is Cal Jada on vibes. I don't think he plays anything else on this album. I think it's all vibes, and it's just really wonderful. Some of the tracks take the A Train in Your Own Sweet Way. Let's see. Morning of the Carnival, that's Mana de Carnival, which is a Joe Beam tune, a Bonfire Joe Beam tune. Some self-titled stuff, some composed by Cal Jada himself. Davido Late is another one by him. Let's see, he does Soul Burst is another Cal Jada tune. He does a Billy Strayhorn tune called Lush Life, of course. He also does Fuji, which is another one by him, by Cal Jada. Omar Now Tenvez, which is Jobim tune. So, he just goes all over. He does a Gershwin tune, I Can't Get Started. So he's all over the place. And I just think he really does a great job on this. This is it's a long one. You can listen to it little bits at a time, if you don't want to listen to 3 albums, because it's 3 records. So it's 6 sides of music, and it's pretty extensive, but a great record. But for me, you can pretty much go to anything by him. Soul Sauce is a great record, of course, and I always like Several Shades of Jade, although that one gets knocked a lot because it has this kind of strange Asian sound to it, which people find it to sound like Exotica. I love it. I think it's a great record. I don't care. Next is Les McCann. Some people find that he sings too much on his records, and that kind of kills it. For me, I think it's a plus. I was going to pull another record of his. I forget the name of it. I think it's right here. I was going to pull this one, because this one I grew up with, Hustle to Survive, but it has him singing a lot on it, so I said, you know what, I'm not going to pull that one, because I want people to listen to Les McCann as an artist and really get into him. So this is a record that I recommend to listen to. It's called Layers by Les McCann. Instead of, the live Les McCann, Eddie Harris record, everybody knows that record, the live, Montreux Live, and has, people have talked about that ad infinitum. So it's time to look at something else by Les McCann, and this one is a great one. This is just blows. Not blows. This really goes. This really pushes you. Les McCann on piano and other things. He plays piano, electric piano, synthesizer, clavinet, drums, and timpani. Buck Clark on congas and drums and bells and percussion. Ralph McDonald on percussion as well. And Donald Dean on drums, bells, and percussion. So there's lots of great stuff. Jimmy Rouse on bass violin, electric bass, and he also plays percussion on this as well. This was from 1973, remastered, and a redone in 2018, reissued. And I think this is another reissue. This is probably just a reprinting of a 2018 reissue. But produced by Joel Dorn on Atlantic Records. Really nice sounding record, really very quiet record, and just smoking. That's what I should say. It smokes. And it has many layers. It's actually kind of experimental, too. it's not like an easy listening type thing. It actually it's in your face to some degree. And the last tune, there's a soaring part one at the end, side one, but side two, soaring on side two, just uh, what a great closer for a record. It just smokes. So this is Les McCann, Layers. Now, there's vocal jazz. There's some vocal jazz in here, and some people don't like vocal jazz at all. And I say, why limit yourself? Why limit yourself only to instrumentals? Um, Sometimes I'm a vocalist, so I'm a real big proponent of vocals. You don't always have to have vocals in jazz, and I get that. Some jazz doesn't need vocals. A lot of jazz don't need vocals, but when you have vocal jazz, that does not diminish the work. I think that jazz vocalists, when they're good, I'm not talking about. I'm not going to say any names. I don't want to. I don't want to denigrate anyone, but I only want to talk about positive things and talk about people who I think are good. There are jazz singers out there who are run of the mill, who are very Broadway, and there's nothing wrong with Broadway if you're doing Broadway, but when you're doing jazz, I don't want to hear Broadway. There's a difference. That to the letter kind of thing. I don't want to hear perfect sounding. I want to hear the cracks. I want to hear the emotion. I want to hear them flat out a little bit because they're trying something. I want to hear the sharps. I want to hear all the little strainy stuff, and I want to hear you living that song. And that's and I'm not saying that the Broadway people don't do that in their way, but that's Broadway, and I appreciate Broadway for Broadway. Just like opera, I appreciate opera for opera. I don't want an opera singer singing jazz over jazz. I just don't want to do that. But if an opera singer can sing a jazz tune and sing it in a jazzy way. I know that sounds really weird. I don't mean like jazz hands. I don't mean like that, but you know what I'm saying. That they play, any singer. I think any singer, if they're their, worth it in the industry. I think that in general, I mean, some people can't, and that's fine because they don't know that music. But if you do know that music, you appreciate that music, and you're an artist, and you can kind of become like a lizard and change your spots, and go from here to there. Shaka Khan has always done funk, but she's done jazz, and she does jazz very well. People try to knock her for it, but she's really good at it. I said all that to say vocal jazz has its place, and it is valid, and it is relevant in the jazz world, and even in the pure jazz world. And one artist that is considered a pop singer and considered a jazz singer, but in the pop kind of realm, is the chairman of the board, of course, Frank Sinatra. But a lot of Frank Sinatra, some people find it to be schmaltzy, or to be very like Vegasy. Hey. But there are times when you hear a Frank Sinatra record and you know that this man knows what he's doing. And I mean, he does bring with him some of the best musicians that are out there at the time. He always knew how to put together people. He knew how to get people producing his records to get the best people to back him and to push him. And in this case, this is very different for him and incredible for him. This is it's called Francis Albert Sinatra. They say the whole thing because his counterpart on this record is Antonio Carlos Jobim. And I tell you, I'm so glad that they did this. This is called this is just called Their Names. It's arranged and conducted by Klaus Augerman, which I have some of Klaus Augerman's stuff on his own. Produced by Sonny Burke. Engineered by Lee Hirschberg. This is a brilliant record. This is Brazilian music all the way through. A Brazilian style, I should say. Not all the songs are Brazilian, but it has that flavor. He opens with Girl from Ipanema, and I know that's been done a million times, but at this time, it wasn't done a million times. It must probably was done 1,000 times. So he was right on point doing this at that time. And this was in the '60s, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't have the date when it was done originally, and I didn't have to do research because I just wanted to show you this record. In any case, I'm thinking this was in the '60s. Um, he opens with "Girl from Ipanema." He does "Dindy," which is an incredibly sad and beautiful song. Chains Partners, "Quiet Nights and Quiet Stars" is wonderful. Meditation, "If You Never Come to Me," and another classic, "How Insensitive." I Concentrate on You. Then he does this kind of interesting baubles, bangles, and beads, and he finishes up with "Once I Loved." It's a very short and sweet record, but it's just enough. And he really, you can see that he's done his research. You can see that he has listened very carefully, and he wants to really um, embody the spirit of the Brazilian sound, even as a vocalist, and without using an accent or anything like that. He just does it as Sinatra, but doing it with a Brazilian flavor. And I think this is just a crowning achievement for Frank Sinatra. So check that out. That's him doing Brazilian music. Next up, a trumpet player who, because in the, I'd say in the late '70s to the '80s, he went through a period where he also encouraged other artists to do the same. He was doing kind of like very accessible music, accessible jazz, funk jazz, basically, and soul jazz, and he did it well. Some people didn't do it well, but this guy did it well, and I don't think he should be um, put down for it. I don't think people say, "Oh, I don't like that period." Give it another chance. Check it out. I mean, but I'm gonna go with an earlier period for his art, for this artistry of this artist by the name of Donald Byrd. Great, great trumpet player. And this album, called Fuego, perfectly titled. Fuego means fire. This is fire. They titled it right. This has Donald Byrd, of course, on trumpet, Jackie McLean on alto, Duke Pearson on piano, Doug Watson bass, and Lex Humphreys on sticks. And I tell you, 6 tracks, and they just knock it out. I think, let's see, this is from the '50s, I believe, late '50s. Probably about '57, something like that. But has 6 tracks: Fuego, Bupaloop, Funky Mama. That first side just goes so fast, you want to play it again. It's so good. And Jack McLean is just all over this. They just killer. The second side has Low Life, Lament, and Amen, and it just it it runs by you, and you don't know what happened. You don't know what hit you. You have to actually play it again because it's so good, and it finishes so quickly. It's a fast read, so to speak, in your ear. So Donald Byrd, Fuego, definitely something to check out. I think you can get this pretty inexpensively. I don't think this is considered like, oh, this is like, a grail or anything like that. So you can get that pretty easy. All right. I mean, you're not going to see a lot of grails from me. I don't go looking for grails. I don't spend tons of money on records. I buy what I can afford, and I buy what I think is good, what I like. So next up, I'm not trying to impress anybody or anything like that. Not that anybody else is trying to, but I just don't want people to think that I am trying to impress anyone. The next up is a group that it's vocal jazz again. These guys are considered not smooth jazz. They're considered kind of like novelty, cute, not as serious as some other groups from the past. I beg to disagree, especially because, and not to put down the other singers in this group, but it's a group. there's one singer in particular that when she stands on her own, she kicks Heine every freaking time. Her name is Janice Siegel, and the name of the group is Manhattan Transfer. And I know a lot of people go, ha ha ha, Manhattan. No, this album, Vocalese, will convince you that they definitely have a place in vocal jazz, a serious place in vocal jazz, and I think they always have. I loved everything that I love, just about everything. Not every single record, but I love almost every record. I love their self-titled record. It's not heavy. It's not anything that's gonna like knock you out in terms of like, oh, it's so intense and so. But it's just a lot of fun. But it's vocally, when you listen to the vocals on that, you know these people know how to sing. I mean, they're just amazing singers. And on this record, they there's a lot of scatting on this record, and they you could tell that they are very good at vocalese. And featuring the lyrics of Jon Hendricks. They do Jon Hendricks, and Jon Hendricks is with them, and Bobby McFerrin's on this as well. There's Jon Hendricks right in the middle there. Um, so they do some of the oldies, some of the old tunes on this. They do. Let's see. This is produced by Tim Hauser. And Tim Hauser is the guy here. Rest in peace. He's not with. He's not around anymore. But it's Cheryl Benteen on vocals, Tim Hauser, Alan Paul, and Janice Siegel. Killer Joe, they do. Rambo, Erringen, Benny Bailey, Another Night in Tunisia, which kills. And Bobby McFerrin is on that. He does the Charlie Parker solo on on that song, and it's really good. And also Jon Hendricks is on that as well, doing some great stuff on there. Amazing stuff. They do Ray's Rock House, which I think was a single for them. Blee Blop Blues, and Oh Yes, I Remember Clifford, Sing Joy Spring, and they finished up with Move. And this was from 1985 on Atlantic. Fantastic record, fantastic. If you get any Manhattan Transfer album, this is the one to get for sure. If you're not that into vocal jazz, but you say I want to try something, this is one to pick up. It's really good, very good record. Manhattan Transfer. Next artist we just lost not long ago. I did a whole video on his music, and I'm just going to show him really quickly. This guy has been known for his considered smooth jazz, orchestral jazz. I think he's more orchestral jazz than smooth jazz. For me, he uses lots of orchestras, and that makes his stuff sound very big and almost big band-ish. But it's the trumpet player Chuck Mangione. Some people say Chuck Mangione, and Chuck Mangione. That's what I say. And this is Bella Via. This is an ode to his parents, especially to his mom. And it's a beautiful, gorgeous record. Wonderful playing on here. Very dramatic. I just love this record. I love everything about it. I love the packaging. I love everything. The photographs. And it just goes wonderfully. It has about 6 songs on here. And Come Take a Ride with Me, Listen to the Wind, Carousel, Bella Via, Dance of the Wind-Up Toy, and Toriano. And this is the Chuck Mangione Quartet with the orchestra. And it's Chuck, of course, he's the conductor, and it's on flugelhorn, Fender Rhodes and Celeste, Jerry Narrywood on soprano, sax, and Yamaha tenor, and piccolo and flute, alto flute as well. Joe LaBarbera on drums and rototoms and miscellaneous percussion, and Chip Jackson on electric bass. Beautiful record, Bella Via, from Chuck Mangione. All right, we're winding down. We only have a few more to go, I believe. And this one is Ramsey Lewis. Ramsey Lewis gets pegged to be kind of like, and especially in the 60s, the In Crowd and all that kind of stuff. He was considered someone who did kind of like commercial jazz to some degree. Um, Even if that were the fact, even that if is the fact, he was a master of piano. He was an amazing pianist and arranger, and you just can't get past that. And the producer, and he influenced so many people. I've seen him several times. He's just a wonderful person. I met him. He was a wonderful guy, and incredible artist. And I want to show two records of his because he's had two periods in his career where he's been different. And Ramsey Lewis Trio in Chicago. This is a famous record of his. And this has Old Devil Moon, What's New, Carmen, Bay Miss Bistashun, you know. I'll Remember April, Delilah, Folk Ballad, But Not For Me, and CC Rider. Fantastic little record. And I got this really cheap. It's in pretty decent condition. I like to get an upgrade on this one. It's a little crackly. This was recorded on April 30th, 1960, during a performance at the Blue Note in Chicago. And yeah, this has Ramsey Lewis on piano, L.D. Young on bass, and Red Holt on drums. That's it. And it's just a wonderful record. It's just a great, fun record to listen to. And this is Ramsey at his finest, I think, on the Cadet label. And it's an actual performance at the Blue Note in Chicago. And the second one I wanted to play of his, show of his, not play, show of his, later on in the 70s, you know, he has Sun Goddess and all these other records, and he was his previous, some of his previous musicians that he worked with, particularly Maurice White, who played drums for him with this trio early on. He left him to start Earth, Wind, and Fire. Well, he came back to do Sun Goddess with Ramsey Lewis, which became one of the biggest selling records for Ramsey Lewis. Incredible. It's a standard album. But the follow-up was, and they continue to work together a bit, was, he was with Charles Stepney, I should say. I don't think Maurice is on this album, but Charles Stepney worked on the last album, and this one, Charles Stepney did a lot of Earth, Wind, and Fire records. This is Don't It Feel Good, and this has this is funk. This is kind of like funk jazz. Fantastic follow-up to Sun Goddess. Definitely in the area of in the area of like headhunters and all that kind of cool stuff that happened in that period. There was a lot of funk jazz happening at that time, and there's some really good stuff. This opens with Don't It Feel Good, which is so good. Jacqueline is great. Spider-Man, really fun. Something About You. They do their own arrangement of That's the Way of the World. It's almost unrecognizable, but eventually you realize that's the song, but it's so freaking good. It's so different. I mean, you appreciate Earth, Wind, and Fire, and Earth, Wind, and Fire is a classic. That's the Way of the World. But they do such an incredible rendition without copying what Earth, Wind, and Fire did. And so it belongs on this record as in a different arrangement. It's really great. And then Fishbite, which is kind of like Parliament Funkadelic. It's kind of fun to listen to. I Dig You and Can't Function is great as well. This is a wonderful, fun record to check out. Ramsey Lewis, really great. And I don't think that people take him as seriously as they should. I think he really is up there as a piano player. Next, organ player, Jimmy Smith. Another one is considered very commercial, and maybe that might be so, but you know what? This guy can play, and there's no question about it. This record is called Hobo Flats, and this is such a bluesy record. It's a churchy record. It's really good. He starts with Hobo Flats, goes into Blueberry Hill, Walk Right In, Trouble in Mind, The Preacher, Meditation, and then he finishes up with I can't stop loving you. Imagine this on organ. Oh, man, a really great record, really fun record. I could have picked just about anything by Jimmy Smith, but I wanted to pick this one because I didn't really know this one that well until about maybe a year ago. I can't stop listening to it. It's so good. Hobo Flats, Jimmy Smith, incredible organ. All right, another artist that I push a lot, and I push a lot because I feel that people look at his album covers and go, or they remember the one huge hit that he had from his discotheque record called Hijack, and they just never let him live it down. I don't think there's anything wrong with that track. It's not jazz, I get it, but let it go. Herbie Mann, flautist extraordinaire, really cool guy. Like to take his shirt off a lot and do album covers, and people used to make fun of that. But anyway, um, this is on Atlantic, and this is Man at Newport. Herbie Mann at Newport, live record, and he's been in Newport several times. This has one, two, three, four, five tunes. She's a karaoke, all blues, Project X, scratch, and he finishes it with Summertime. And this is on Atlantic. I love the cover. I love these shiny covers. Nice gatefold. On this record, Jimmy Owens on trumpet, flugelhorn, Joe Orange, and Jack Hickok on trombone. Reggie Workman on bass, Carlos Patato Valdez on percussion, Bruno Carr on drums. Why is this like this? I love this record. It's really clean. And I cleaned it on top of it, so it's really clean and really sounding really great. This is from 1966, the Newport Jazz Festival of 1966. And just a very good record. Herbie Mann, he gets down on this. This is Fuego. And finally, last but not least, and again, this was not in any order, the incredible Wes Montgomery, another artist who through his CTI period especially, people just said, oh, sell out. And I said, oh, shut up. He's incredible. He had his own style of playing in terms of guitar. Very interesting guitar player. And this is a remaster and a reprint of a Record Store Day, actually. I think this is Record Store Day 1 of the incredible guitar of Wes Montgomery. The original looks like that. I have that on CD like that. But this is the newer one. This is the remastering. And this is on Pan Am Records. Let's see. And they added some tracks on here. This was done in 1960. This was originally recorded in 1960, January, in New York City. Produced by Orrin Keepnews. Has Arrogant on this. D Natural Blues, which is a Wes Montgomery tune. Polka Dots and Moonbeams, 4 on 6, which is Wes Montgomery again. A West Coast Blues, of course, that's Wes Montgomery. He does on side 2. He does another version of West Coast Blues. In Your Old Sweet Way, which is a Brubeck tune. Mr. Walker, which is by Wes Montgomery, and then Gone with the Wind. Wes on guitar, Tommy Flanagan on piano, Mr. Walker. Percy Heath on bass, and Albert Tootie Heath, the Heath brothers, and Tootie Heath on drums. So the Heath brothers are there as well. 2 of the Heath brothers are there, and this is fantastic. Really great record. I'm so happy to have this on vinyl now. I've had it on CD for years, never had it on vinyl, and I now have it on vinyl. This is a really great copy. And it sounds really great, and I'm happy to have this. Limited edition, 180 gram vinyl, and that is our final jazz artist that needs to be um, praised, lifted up, um, and that's 14 artists right there. 14 artists and groups that I just talked about that they get talked about, some of them, but not always in a good light. So I wanted to put them in a good light, and I think it's important for that because I think, especially with people who are novices to jazz, I don't want them to think that they should only listen to Coltrane and only listen to Bill Evans and Chet Baker and Thelonious Monk and Sun Ra and Alice Coltrane, and you know what I'm saying. I think you have to spread your wings a little bit. You have to look around. You have to explore, and don't just listen to all of us. You know, um, listen to your gut. Listen to the music and let it get into your ears and see what how it feels to you. Um, there's a reason why these people sold a lot of records. Okay, um, there's a reason for that because they were worth it, especially when it comes to jazz. I'm not talking about pop music or anything like that. There's no auto tune here. There's no TNA here. You know what I'm saying? This is music. These are musicians. These are artists that really, you know, put their they put their blood, sweat, and tears in this, and they put their hearts on the line with this music. And I think it should be respected. And some people think that the output is not as worthy as other people's output. And I tend to disagree. It may be different, but it's just as valid as anybody else's out there, as far as I'm concerned. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm going to get off my little step stool here, stop my ranting, and say, have a good evening, everybody. I'm glad that you sat through this with me. If you did, if you're not subscribed to this station, to this channel, subscribe to the channel and like this video if you like it. If you like it. And if you have anything to say back to me, good, bad, or otherwise, I'll accept it. Do so in the comments. If you have any other artists that you think that need to be, because there's other artists I can think of, but that need to be lifted up, that need to be respected, and need to be talked about in a good light, just like all the other ones that they talk about ad nauseum. Put it in the comment section. Maybe there's somebody I overlooked. In any case, take care, guys. Have a great evening. Have a wonderful week. And keep listening to great music. Take care.